Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Hello to all my friends and followers and astrology lovers. We've come to the last month of the Gregorian calendar. Our own personal calendar starts at our own birthday. And when I work with the Seasons of Your Life, which is my soul coaching program that I work with, I always say our own personal year starts at our personal birthday. So not all of you are finishing off your year. If you were born in January, you're finishing off your year. If you're born in September, you're just relatively new in your personal year. And that's always such an intriguing way, I think, to look at astrology. But today I've come to do the recording of the December, the last month of the Gregorian year. And so let me share my screen here so we can look at planetary-wise what we're actually seeing coming into that very first day of December. I'm actually recording this a little later in November, 21st of November. And even as I'm recording this on the 21st of November, Mars is at 5 degrees, which I will get to in a few moments. But on the very 1st of December, we're going to see a brand new moon. I don't remember the last time we had the first day of a month where we also had a brand new moon. I love new moons. New moons are very much opening doors to new ways of thinking of things. It brings in a new type manifestation. It is in the sign of Sagittarius because our Sagittarian friends are having their birthday. And I've chosen, if you go to my website, I'll put a link below. I have chosen to use the gemstone topaz connected with the sign of Sagittarius. On my website, I've chosen perhaps not always the same gemstone that you would normally choose connected to your personal birthday. I just sat and intuitively decided on doing different gemstones. And as I said, I've chosen topaz for Sagittarius. Chosen topaz for Sagittarius because Sagittarius is a huge stone that if you really zero in on it, you can use it greatly for manifestation. So if you're actually watching this video coming up to the new moon and you want to build a grid of some kind, an energy grid, lots of times I use a clear quartz in the very center part of the grid, and I use different gemstones on the outer side. The inside gemstone on the grid, the circle made with gemstones, is often a clear quartz because a clear quartz, it looks clear as a gemstone if you're not overly familiar with gemstones, is used as what they refer to as a generator. So it actually generates the vibration coming off every single gemstone you use in your circle. And I'm going to highly recommend you put in a topaz. Now, not often do we go around with a gemstone, a piece of rock, like a topaz, but sometimes we might have a ring, or we might have a topaz necklace, or we might have a topaz earrings. Topaz comes in many colors. I think the general color is quite often a yellowish color, but you can certainly get a pale blue topaz, which is also just as well. But the new moon is great times for manifesting. And in the sign of Sagittarius, that's often connected around spirituality. So if you're thinking coming into the new year, I'd like to be a part of some spirituality type class. Maybe there's someone teaching about tarot, or there's somebody teaching about animal communication, or anything to do with the spirituality world. I start the beginners astrology again in January. I only do that every 2 years. But anything connected with the spirituality world is wonderful to have a little note in that round grid of 5 things you want to manifest in this upcoming year. So classes connected with spirituality is wonderful with the sign of Sagittarius. The other sign with Sagittarius is about travel. Is there somewhere specific you would like to perhaps set up some travel plans for 2025? Travel is lovely. Perhaps you'd like to even study about religion, the various religions, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism. Many of the religions in the world is connected around Sagittarius. I often think too that in medical astrology, Sagittarius has to do with the nerves within our body, the nervous system. So you think about the neural pathway. And when I think about the neural pathway, that often leads me into the mindset of Chinese medicine and the various meridians. And so even something like tapping, where they teach you EFT, it's called the emotional freedom technique. Do look it up if you don't know anything about it. It is taught for free online, but it teaches you about tapping and how to tap out or tap away some of your fears in life. The sign of Sagittarius normally will hang out in the 9th house. Hence, we talk about classes, mainly that's online classes, online learning. It's also where we find publications as well. So maybe part of your new moon ritual, maybe you want to learn how to write a book, or maybe you will choose to use that as your first day of journaling. When I am doing soul coaching with various people, one of the books I highly do recommend, and I've probably suggested this on this channel before, is the book called The Artist Way, written by Julia Cameron. It does take you through 12 weeks of writing, hence my thought of the publishing of a book. And I've had people say to me, "Oh, yes, Holly, I've read the book." I don't want you to read the book. I want you to do the book. I want you to really get into subconsciously learning how to write. So they are some of the ideas that one can manifest with a new moon in Sagittarius. If you have other ideas, I'd love to hear them. Please write them in the comments below. I'm always really interested. I know people think they learn from me, but what you may not recognize is I learn a lot from you guys as well. So never underestimate your power of knowledge. As we enter into December, there's a lot of things going on. We have a square going on between Saturn and Jupiter. And this is a square that really began back in 2020, was really the beginning of this actual square. And Saturn has just come out of retrograde. I would have talked about that in my November recording. But November 15th was when Saturn turned direct. So Saturn's coming back to create that square with Jupiter again. It's taking all of us also back to late spring of this year of 2024. It's taking us back to late March, April, May, and lots of things we as individuals said, yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to look into that. Yeah, I'm going to make that happen. And perhaps we didn't at the time. And so with Saturn turning around the 15th of November, Saturn has said, okay, folks, let's get on the train here and let's make this happen. So again, when you're thinking about your manifestation, what are some of the things that you had asked to manifest in your life coming into this spring? Maybe it's time to put on a bit of the worker hat and make that happen. Again, coming into the early part of December, we're in the middle of a Mercury retrograde. Now, do I personally think this new moon will affect? I teach in my classes, I teach a 7-degree orb. The new moon is at 9 degrees Sagittarius, and Mercury is at 20 degrees Sagittarius. 20 minus 9 gives us 11. So to me, it's a little bit too far. Now, what I will say, though, is that Mercury will be backing back. And Mercury will get back as far as 6 degrees Sag. So we're going to keep a bit of a watch, because as Mercury goes backwards, retrograding, it'll go back through that 9-degree orb, and we will have to rethink some of the things that we talked about manifesting. Maybe we might say at that new moon, we might say, oh, I think I'd like to manifest a trip to Sedona in 2025. Well, when Mercury gets back to that 9-degree, and again, we're going to watch that as I move the chart forward, we may go, maybe it's not Sedona that I really want to go to. Maybe it's Seattle, Washington instead. So we will watch that. The other thing that's happening coming into that December, and I talked about this on my Facebook page, actually today, the 21st of November, I talked about the fact that Mars is moving so slowly. Mars generally can move 1 degree per day. Mars is going to get as far as 6 degrees on the 6th of December. So we're not there yet. Mars will get to 6 degrees, and then Mars is going to hit a wall. That Mars concerns me a little tiny bit, which I will share with all of you. But I also want all of you to be aware, let's say you were born with an out of bounds Mars, or let's say you were born with a Mars retrograde. How strong is your Mars in your personal natal chart? If in your natal chart, your Mars is in the sign of Aries, or your Mars is in the sign of Scorpio, Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, that makes a very strong Mars. So when something is going on up here in the sky with Mars, that automatically brings in a lot of other people, or people who are Aries because your ruling planet is Mars, or people who are Scorpios because your ruling planet is Mars. So there's a lot of people that will be affected by Mars. Okay, so let's actually go there, which will be the 6th. Oops, I'm on hours. I don't think I need it by hours. I think by days is good. Let's go to the 6th of, and let's do it per hour now to see what timing. Keeping a watch on Mars. Probably be later in the day when we see, there we go. And that's around 8 p.m. at night. And that would be in Hartford, so that'd be Hartford, Connecticut. So that would be about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that night. And Mars starts to retrograde right here on that 6th. Now, let me tell you that is found in everybody's chart. We're all going to feel a sense of that Mars retrograde. Mars is our planet of aggression. Mars sets up quite a lot of inner anger. In medical astrology, Mars is set up in Leo. That's connected around the heart. That's connected around the arteries and stuff within the heart. Mars sometimes can set up infections. Inflammation comes from Mars. And one of the things my clients have heard me say, if anyone's going down, it ain't going to be me. So this Mars, we all got to think about the fact, if anyone's going down, it ain't going to be me, you. And allowing, because life is about allowing that anger to take us over. That Mars is not going to change until February. So a lot of my clients have been talking about, I want to make massive changes on January 1st, and that's when it's going to happen. And a lot of people connected looking at their chart, I've often said, it's probably not going to happen until February. And so don't go bothering to get your knickers in a knot, because until the planets have shifted and changed, not much is going to happen. If you look on the outside rim of your personal chart, somewhere along that outside rim, you will see the sign of Leo. Whatever house that is in, and the way to decide your houses, the AS house, which is here, if you look at your clock, it's around a 9 o'clock area. So that's the first house. Underneath that is the second. Underneath that is the third. Underneath that is the fourth. We come around the circle counterclockwise. So you want to see what house this Leo is in, because that's how it will be affecting your life, is determined by the actual house that it's in. And as I said, the thing with Mars is going to come out of that sign of Leo, and it's going to back into the sign of Cancer. So those two houses next to each other is where we're going to see the vibration that Mars sets up a side to us. And the way to work your way around that is simply that if somebody is pissing you off, making you angry, just have a conversation. Don't let it build and build and build and build, because it'll take you down. And if anybody's going down, what's the wording? It's not going to be me, right? Do remember, at that same time, we're in the middle of a Mercury retrograde. So what you think the other person has said probably isn't right anyway. So get clarity. Get full clarity. Bring back the power to you. Take back your power. Have that power back to you. I will get full clarity on this, because the next day is the day that Neptune turns direct. So let me come back to the 6th of when Mars turns direct. Just look and you can see Neptune. Neptune is retrograding. Let me now go to the 7th, the next day, and Neptune has stopped retrograding. Now we're going to see, and I'll talk a lot more on this, certainly in 2025, we're going to see Neptune come out of the sign of Pisces. Oh my Lord, are we there yet? And I say that because Neptune rules Pisces. Neptune went into Pisces in 2012. It's been there for 12 years. And I think one of the things it's done is well, it set up some very good things, by the way, but it has set up so much illusion and elusiveness that it's been hard to determine what exactly is reality. Because Neptune, when Neptune retrogrades, it puts on rose-colored glasses on us and makes us see things through those rose-colored glasses. Well, hallelujah, amen, praise be. Neptune is going to come out of Pisces in 2025. Yes. Is it going to stay there? No. In later 2025, it will retrograde back into the sign of Pisces. It will hit a wall in July of 2025. And it will retrograde back. It'll slide back in by the time we get to the later part of the year. But when we get to 2026, Neptune is 100% out of the sign of Pisces. So there is hope for the world. Neptune, what Neptune has done is that it's great for the creative world. It's great for the dreaming up idea world. It's great for the people who work a lot with psychological work. It's brought in new options on how to do that. Unfortunately, Pisces also brings in some mental health issues. So since 2012, we have seen our mental health just climb exponentially. And I really do want to blame that on Neptune in Pisces. Fentanyl, the drug overdoses, the alcohol overdoses, a lot of that is very connected with Neptune in Pisces. So I do hope that whoever goes into power, whether it's US, whether it's Canada, I don't care where it is. But I think when we see Neptune go into Aries, which is going to be late spring this year, when Neptune goes into Aries, I think you're going to see a lot of leadership that will step up to help work with that. In the meantime, Neptune turning on the 7th, we also, on that particular day, we also have some other very important planets sitting in the sky, and that is Venus and Pluto. And Pluto, has been what has been digging down over these last 2.5, 3 years. Pluto's been digging down to bring out all the corruption that mankind has sort of assumed it might have been there, but we didn't really know. Pluto goes, okay, Pluto's now into Aquarius right up until 2044, I think it is. And on this particular day, I want everyone to watch the news, unless you choose not to. But I suggest that there will be a big, huge revealing somewhere around that 7th, 8th, 9th of December. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of it is very much connected around corruption and things that have been completely hidden from us. So that's a big deal on that 6th and 7th of December. And even coming into, we now also on that 7th of December, we now have Ceres that has also moved into Aquarius. So we got quite a bit of a cozying up there. If in your personal chart you have anything around that 0 degrees Aquarius, I happen to have a sun sign in there, This is a big deal. This is a whole big day, and Venus and Pluto sitting together says we will find a whole new love, something that really touches our heart, and coming to the ability of being able to claim what is rightfully ours. It is an incredible, incredible day. So we still have Chiron is still retrograding, and it won't let go until the very later part of December. It's sitting around that 19 degrees Aries. So it's really affecting our friends that are born around the ending part of March and the very early part of April. Also, our friends born the ending part of June, coming into the early part of July. Our friends born the very ending part of September, being a Libra, and early part of October. And lastly, of course, the later part of December, the very ending part of December, coming into the very early part of January, Capricorn friends. Chiron is sitting there, creating a bit of chaos for our friends in that area, asking, should I take any type of a leadership role or should I kind of sit back? Also, remember our friends who are around 49, 50, 51 years of age, no matter what astrological sign you are, you're having a Chiron return. And that gives one full entire revolution of the soul. I'll talk about that some other day. Or if you're doing a reading with me and you want further information around your Chiron return, if you happen to be around that 49, 50, 51 years of age, I'm happy to show you how Chiron has made a huge difference directly in your life. And of course, this Mercury is still at 11 degrees. Now, remember we said when Mercury comes down to 9 for when it was at the new moon. So we will watch. Mercury's at 10 there. Mercury's at 9 here. And that's right on the 9th of December. You can mark your calendar here that some of the things you had really decided you were going to do at that new moon, maybe you're doing quite a bit of a change to it. It doesn't entirely look like it did. Now, let me also say this Mercury that is retrograding in Sagittarius, Mercury is in what we call its detriment. It's not very strong. Mercury rules the sign of Gemini, which is straightly across from Sagittarius. So Mercury is in its detriment. It's not going to create as much havoc this time around as when it is some other types of signs. Mercury is still at that 8 degrees, is still creating shifting and changes directly. Now it's creating a trine with this Mars. So it's really playing havoc with communication here on this 10th, 11th day, maybe creating a bit of frustration coming forward of the misunderstandings that's actually happening there. So let's go to the 15th of December, because that is the day that Mercury turns direct. Now, you've heard me say it many times before. I find when planets become stationary, so just as they're getting ready to either turn direct or turn retrograde, that's when they seem to me to be at their greatest power. So on that 14th, 15th of December, the greatest time for misunderstanding will actually be at that time. Again, we haven't broke the trine with Mars. And there's probably a lot of misunderstanding about love. Leo is often about love. What love is, whether somebody actually really loves me or not. Or, you might hear people say, if you loved me, you wouldn't do that. That's a full connection of a Mercury retrograde and Mars, for sure. Also, on that particular day, so now I need to go to hours again because it's too far away. Let me do something else. We've got a full moon happening. We've got a full moon happening in the sign of, sorry, try and make that be 20, going in the wrong direction, 24 degrees. Let me try this. Okay, so we have our next full moon is on the 15th of December. Full moon brings so much full power. It does create and give a full alignment of full viewing. But this particular full moon, so of course we always have the sun and moon opposing each other for a full moon, creates a T-square. See the T? Creates a T-square with Neptune. And what you're going to find in that full moon, that things you actually thought was what your hopes and dreams and wishes are, probably is not. We're probably going to see a full light there, full moon, full light, on after talking things through. After having the discussion, we actually realize maybe that's not exactly the way I want things to roll. Maybe that's not exactly how I want to play. It's all in mutable signs. Mutable signs are all about the fact of trying to be agreeable, trying to sometimes not even have a whole in-depth opinion. It's more about the fact of just kind of going along for the ride. And when we get in a T-square like that, that full moon is actually going to have you saying, maybe I do want it my way this time around. Maybe I'm done with always being the person who is sort of giving in on things. Now, our Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, Pisces people are the people mostly affected by this exact full moon and the shiftings and the changes that it actually is bringing forth. Then we're going to go to the 21st. Let me go to day instead of minutes. Then we're going to go to the 21st of December. That's our next alignment. And on that particular day, that, of course, is the winter solstice. It's going to be on the 21st of December. The winter solstice is exactly when the sun moves into a cardinal sign. And that's exactly the timing. So that's 5:31 in the morning, a.m., yep. 5:31 Eastern Standard Time. And so what that has done is that it completely now starts the finality in a lot of ways of the year. It is our winter solstice. And the winter solstice is connecting to the nodal axis, the north node and the south node. The nodal axis changed signs in July of 2023. It went to Aries and Libra. So it had all of us looking at relationships. This has been a huge thing for the last year and a half or so. Relationships, partnerships, what brings me balance, what brings me harmony, what brings me centeredness. And what we're going to find is by the ending part of the year, coming into the early part of next year, that nodal axis is going to change. It's going to come out of Aries, it's going to come out of Libra, and it's then going to go through the sign of Pisces and Virgo for the next year and a half. And that's going to then have us focused, a lot of us focused on our mental health, which I talked about, Pisces, but it's also going to have us very much centered on our health in general, Virgo. Virgo normally sits out in the 6th house. And a lot of our eating habits in medical astrology, the sign of Virgo has to do with the intestinal tract. And so we'll be looking very greatly on our food. There will be a big connection and looking at the food and the food industry, and perhaps even, Pluto and Aquarius, what have we been eating? What has been in our foods? How has our foods perhaps changed over the while? And that'll be the next big, huge focus for all of us. And of course, when we get to the 25th, 26th, now we've got the nodal axis in the last degrees of Libra and Aries. So this will be the real big push. And of course, it's Boxing Day for those of us in the Christian mindset. Boxing Day. And it's also, we still got that Mars that is retrograding. So we're finishing off the year with a black moon. It is a new moon. Let me go for my hours here so I can push my moon forward. I want my moon to align with the sun. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's the new moon in December, on the 30th of December at 5:30 in the evening, 5:30 in the evening, Eastern Standard Time. So that's 6:30 Halifax, Nova Scotia time, 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. So that's Ontario, Quebec in Canada, and the Eastern Seaboard in the US. But there is the second new moon. Remember when we started this video, we said the new moon was on the 1st of December. Well, of course, the moon, the physical moon up there in the sky, comes around every, 28, 29, 30 days. So when you have a new moon on the 1st of the month, you end up with a second new moon. Now, a second full moon we call a blue moon. And that happens every blue moon. Very seldom does that happen. But when we have a new moon, a second new moon, that's called a black moon. And there's a reason for that. It's the shadow of the Earth actually transits over the face of the moon, calling it the black moon. And it's at 9 degrees Capricorn. So now it's a time to do a second type of manifestation chart. So Capricorn has all to do with our land. It has to do with work and business. So if you're looking at manifesting a new job, maybe in 2025, if you're looking at manifesting some new wood products, so if you want a new home and new place to live, those are great things. In medical astrology, Capricorn has to do with the knees and the bone structure. So if you want to, get some new knees, that would be great to do a manifestation. And one of the gemstones that I would definitely use for the Capricorn new moon would be the tiger's eye. And again, back on my website, I have a huge write-up about tiger's eye. But tiger's eye is also great for rebuilding new bone, the bone structure, hardening the bone. Um, we also, people who have very little earth in their chart, I often talk about the fact that they have some problems, their body has problems infiltrating like minerals and so on. I talk a lot about that with people with very little earth and the importance of making sure that they get root vegetables into their diet. One of the things on this new moon, why don't you set that up? The 30th of December. Set it up to have a root vegetable, uh, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 root vegetables. So we're talking carrots and parsnip and turnip and beet and potato. Plants, vegetables that grow below ground are root vegetables, for those of you who may not know that. And so we end the year with a black moon, the 31st. Oh, that's an hour. Sorry. Let me try for the date. The 31st of New Year's Eve. We still have the moon still in Capricorn, so root vegetables for New Year's Eve still works really well. And the North Node and the South Node are at the last degrees. So I'm willing to bet that there's probably some relationship turning points that will actually take place directly in that New Year's Eve, whether it's somebody coming in or whether it's somebody going out. I will leave you all with Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or whatever it is that works for your particular belief systems. I look forward to seeing every one of you again coming into the new year. One of the things is, and I'll put it down in the link below, my Inspired by Spirituality, the second Wednesday in the month. The class in December is called Hush Hush Topics. And we're going to get into topics of things that you probably don't have at a coffee shop. Things about connecting with angels and spirit guides and guardian angels, and things about death, what happens when we die, how do we reach the other side, indigo children, the various aspects connected with children, animal communication, however long it's going to, the questions that will come in. We've already, last month, we talked about energy medicine and how to actually invoke your own personal healing. The month before that, we got into talking about gemstones, which gemstone to use for what. The month before that, we got into dreams, physical dream interpretation, how to know what your subconscious is talking to you. So I hope to also run those exact same types of classes coming into 2025. All of that information is on my website, www.hollypool.com. I send out a newsletter once a month talking about any upcoming classes. And again, beginner astrology classes do begin in January of 2025, and they only get run every 2 years, because every other 2 year, as I'm doing right now, I'm running the intermediate classes. Thank you once again from my heart to yours. We welcome in 2025. It's going to be an absolutely spectacular year. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm so happy that all of you are along for the ride. Take care. See you soon. Bye.